There are moments in life when you don't know what to say. You don't know who to call. You just know that something inside you is asking for help. So if you're watching this right now, please stay for a moment. I'm not asking you to fix everything. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm simply asking you to listen because sometimes behind a quiet face, there's a battle nobody can see. Sometimes the person saying, "I'm okay," is doing everything they can just to keep going. And maybe you understand that feeling. Maybe you've been carrying something alone for too long. Maybe you're tired of pretending that everything is fine. And maybe right now, you just need someone to remind you that asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. So please, watch this until the end. Because this isn't just about being in trouble, it's about what happens when you finally decide that you don't have to face everything alone. There are moments in life when you reach a point where pretending becomes harder than admitting the truth. You can smile, you can tell people you're fine, you can keep moving through the day as if nothing is wrong. You can answer the messages, go to work, sit with people, laugh at the right moments, and still carry something inside you that feels impossibly heavy. And sometimes the hardest words to say are the simplest words. I need help, not because you are weak, not because you have failed, not because you are incapable of handling your life, but because you are human. We were never meant to carry everything alone. There is a strange pressure in the world to appear strong all the time. We are taught to hide the fear, hide the confusion, hide the disappointment, hide the pain. We learn to say, "I'm okay," even when we are not sure how much longer we can keep saying it. But strength is not always about standing by yourself. Sometimes strength is knowing when to reach out. Sometimes courage is admitting that you don't have the answer. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is look at someone you trust and say, "I'm having a difficult time, and I could really use your help." That sentence can feel uncomfortable. It can feel vulnerable. It can make you feel exposed. You might worry about what people will think. You might worry that they will see you differently. You might think they will judge you for not being strong enough. But the truth is, everyone needs help at some point. Everyone, the person who looks confident may be fighting a private battle. The person who seems successful may be carrying a fear nobody knows about. The person who always helps everyone else may secretly wish someone would ask them if they are okay. We are all walking around with things we don't always talk about, and maybe that is why compassion matters so much. Because you never really know what someone is carrying. You might meet someone for 5 minutes and have no idea what happened to them that morning. You might see someone smiling and never know how much effort it took for them to get out of bed. You might hear someone say, "I'm fine," and never realize that those words are covering an entire story. So if you are watching this and you are struggling, I want you to understand something. You don't have to be ashamed of needing help. You don't have to apologize for being tired. You don't have to prove your worth by suffering silently. There is no prize for pretending that everything is okay when everything inside you is asking for attention. Life is difficult sometimes. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because life is life. People leave, plans change, money becomes tight, relationships break, dreams take longer than expected, mistakes happen, people disappoint you, you disappoint yourself. And sometimes you wake up one morning and realize that the life you imagined doesn't look anything like the life you are living. That can hurt. It can make you question yourself. It can make you wonder whether you have gone too far in the wrong direction. But a difficult chapter is not the entire story. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to say, "I don't know what to do next." You are allowed to ask someone to sit beside you while you figure it out. You are allowed to take one step at a time. There is something beautiful about realizing that you don't have to solve your entire life today. Maybe today you only need to make one phone call. Maybe you need to tell one person the truth. Maybe you need to ask for advice. Maybe you need to accept that you cannot carry this particular weight by yourself. And that is okay. Sometimes we make life harder because we think every problem requires a dramatic solution. But sometimes the next step is very small: a conversation, a message, a door you finally decide to open, a hand you finally decide to reach for, a sentence you have been afraid to say, "I need your help." Those words can change something, not because they magically remove the problem, but because they stop you from facing the problem in complete isolation. There is a difference between having a problem and believing you have to become the problem. You can struggle without becoming a failure. You can make mistakes without becoming a mistake. You can lose something without losing your entire future. You can be afraid without being a coward. You can feel lost without being permanently lost. And you can need help without becoming less of a person. Sometimes we judge ourselves more harshly than we would ever judge someone we love. Imagine a friend came to you and said, "I'm struggling, I don't know what to do, I need help." Would you laugh at them? Would you tell them they are worthless? Would you tell them they should have figured everything out already? Probably not. You would probably sit with them, you would probably listen, you would probably tell them that things can change. You would probably remind them that one terrible moment does not have to become their entire life. So why don't we offer ourselves the same kindness? Why do we believe that we have to be perfect before we deserve compassion? You don't, you never did. There are times when life becomes so overwhelming that even ordinary things begin to feel difficult. Getting out of bed, answering a message, making a decision, walking into a room, thinking about tomorrow. And when you are in that place, people may tell you to simply be stronger, but sometimes what you need is not another command to be strong. Sometimes you need someone to say, "Take your time, tell me what happened." You don't have to explain everything. I'm here. Let's figure out the next step. There is power in those words, not loud power, not the kind that demands attention, a quiet kind of power, the kind that reminds you that you are not invisible, and maybe that is what you need right now, not a perfect speech. Not someone pretending to have all the answers, just a reminder that you are still here. And as long as you are here, there can still be another conversation, another morning, another decision, another opportunity, another beginning. We often underestimate how much can change with time. A year ago, you may have been worried about something you barely think about now. 5 years ago, you may have believed a certain situation would destroy you, and yet somehow you made it through. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not gracefully, maybe carrying scars and lessons you never expected, but you made it. That matters. It means you have survived days you once thought you couldn't survive. It means your story contains evidence that difficult moments can pass. And if you are in a difficult moment again, you don't need to know exactly how the story ends. You only need to take care of the next moment, then the next one, then the next. Sometimes survival is not about making a giant leap forward. Sometimes it is simply refusing to give up on the possibility that tomorrow can be different. And asking for help can be part of that decision. There is no shame in saying, "I can't do this by myself right now." In fact, there is honesty in it, and honesty can be the beginning of healing, because you cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot receive support for a struggle you never allow anyone to see. You cannot let someone stand beside you if you keep insisting that you have to walk alone. Maybe you have spent years being the person everyone depends on. Maybe people come to you when they need advice. Maybe you are the strong one in your family. Maybe you are the one who keeps everything together. And perhaps nobody realizes that even the person holding everything together sometimes needs someone to hold them. Being dependable doesn't mean being invincible. Being strong doesn't mean never needing support. Being independent doesn't mean refusing every helping hand. There is a difference between dependence and connection. Human beings need connection. We need people who can remind us who we are when we temporarily forget. We need people who can tell us the truth when fear is speaking louder than reason. We need people who can sit with us in silence without demanding that we immediately become okay. And sometimes we need professional help too. There is no shame in talking to a counselor, therapist, doctor, mentor, trusted elder, or another qualified person when something feels too heavy to manage alone. Asking for help is not giving up. It is choosing not to give up. There is a difference. Giving up says nothing can change. Asking for help says, "I don't know how to change this alone, but I'm willing to try." That is courage. Real courage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like picking up the phone. Sometimes it looks like telling the truth. Sometimes it looks like admitting you are scared. Sometimes it looks like saying, "Please stay with me while I figure this out." And maybe someone listening to this needs to hear that. Maybe you have been waiting for permission to stop pretending. Here it is. You don't have to pretend with everyone. Find one safe person, one person you trust, someone who will listen without turning your pain into gossip, someone who will take you seriously, someone who can help you find the next step, and tell them what is really happening. You don't have to tell the entire story at once. Start with one sentence. "I'm not doing well. I'm overwhelmed. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I need someone to talk to. I really need your help." Sometimes one honest sentence is enough to begin opening a door that has been closed for a very long time. And when that door opens, you may discover that the world is not as empty as it felt from the inside. There may be people willing to help, there may be resources you didn't know existed. There may be solutions you couldn't see because you were too close to the problem. There may be another way forward. Not an easy way, not a perfect way, but a way. And sometimes that is all you need, a way forward. You don't need to have the whole map. You just need enough light to see the next few steps. Think about a dark road at night. Your headlights don't show you the entire road. They show you enough distance to continue, but somehow that's enough. You keep driving, you reach the next turn, then the next. Then eventually the darkness begins to disappear. Life can be like that. You don't always get to see the whole future. You don't always know where every decision will lead, but you can still take the next honest step. And if you need help taking that step, ask. There is nothing weak about that. There is something deeply human about reaching out. Because none of us truly makes it alone. Every person who has accomplished something meaningful has been helped by someone. A teacher, a parent, a friend, a stranger, a mentor, a colleague, someone who believed in them when they couldn't believe in themselves. We like to tell stories about people who succeeded as if they climbed the entire mountain alone. But behind almost every life there are unseen hands, people who opened doors, people who offered advice, people who gave second chances, people who listened, people who stayed. So don't be afraid to become one of those people for someone else. And don't be afraid to let someone be that person for you. Maybe this moment isn't here to prove that you can do everything alone. Maybe it is here to teach you that you don't have to. Maybe the lesson isn't strength through isolation. Maybe the lesson is strength through connection. There are moments when you will need to stand on your own, and there are moments when you need someone beside you. Knowing the difference is wisdom. So if you are in trouble right now, breathe, slow down. Don't make your entire future responsible for solving today's pain. Focus on what is directly in front of you. What is the safest next step? Who can you call? Who can you trust? What kind of support do you need? And if the situation is urgent or you are in immediate danger, reach out to local emergency services or someone nearby who can physically stay with you. You don't have to make that moment beautiful. You don't have to explain it perfectly. You just have to get through it safely. One moment, one breath, one conversation, one step. There is dignity in that. And maybe one day when you look back, you will realize that the moment you thought was the end was actually the moment you finally stopped carrying everything alone, the moment you finally told the truth, the moment you finally reached out. The moment you finally allowed another human being to see what was happening behind the smile, and maybe that person didn't have a perfect solution, maybe they couldn't fix everything, but they stayed. And sometimes someone staying is enough to remind you that you still matter, that your life still has meaning, that your story is not finished, that there are still pages you haven't lived yet, and you don't have to know what those pages contain. You only have to be willing to turn to the next one. Even if your hands are shaking, even if you're tired, even if you don't feel ready, even if all you can say is, I really need your help. There comes a time when you realize that carrying everything alone isn't strength anymore. It is simply exhaustion wearing the clothes of strength. You can only hold so much inside before the weight begins to change the way you see everything around you. A small problem starts feeling enormous. A simple decision becomes difficult. A normal day feels like something you have to survive rather than something you get to live, and maybe you've become very good at hiding it. You answer, I'm fine, you smile, you keep working, you keep showing up. You keep telling everyone that everything will be okay, but when you finally become alone, when the noise disappears and there is nobody around to perform for, you hear the thoughts you've been trying to silence. What am I going to do? How did I get here? How do I fix this? Who can I talk to? And sometimes the most frightening question is, what if nobody understands? But someone doesn't always have to understand everything to care about you. Sometimes they simply need to listen. Sometimes you don't need someone with a perfect answer. You need someone willing to sit beside you while you search for one. We have created this strange idea that asking for help means you have lost control. But maybe asking for help is actually how you begin taking control again. Because when you keep everything locked inside, the problem grows in the darkness. Fear grows in isolation. Shame grows in silence. Confusion grows when you have nobody to challenge the thoughts running through your mind, but when you speak, something changes. Not always immediately, not magically, but something changes. The problem has a name, the fear has words. The confusion becomes something you can look at instead of something that lives inside your head. And once you can look at something, you can begin to understand it. Once you understand it, you can begin to decide what comes next. You don't need to solve everything tonight. You don't need to rebuild your entire life in one day. You don't need to become a completely different person before you deserve support. You can simply admit where you are. This is where I am. This is what I'm facing. This is what I don't know how to handle. This is where I need help. There is honesty in that. And there is freedom in honesty because pretending takes energy, so much energy. You have to remember the story you told everyone. You have to maintain the smile. You have to act like the situation doesn't bother you. You have to convince yourself that you don't care. You have to keep moving, even when every part of you is asking for a moment to stop. Eventually, pretending becomes heavier than the truth. And the truth might be uncomfortable, but at least the truth can be worked with. You can work with a problem. You can work with fear. You can work with uncertainty. You can ask someone for advice. You can find information. You can make a plan. You can take one step. But you cannot effectively fight something you refuse to acknowledge. Maybe today is the day you stop pretending, not for everyone. You don't owe everyone your private story. But find someone safe, someone trustworthy, someone who has earned the right to hear what you're carrying, and tell them. You don't have to make it sound impressive. You don't have to explain it beautifully. You don't need to apologize for feeling overwhelmed. Just tell the truth. I've been struggling. I don't know what to do. I need someone. Those words might feel frightening when you first say them, but they can also feel like breathing after holding your breath for too long, because suddenly you are not the only person who knows. Suddenly the weight has been shared, and when weight is shared, it doesn't necessarily disappear, but it becomes more bearable. That's an important difference. Sometimes we expect the person helping us to fix everything, but that's not always what help looks like. Help might be someone reminding you to eat, someone helping you make a phone call, someone sitting quietly beside you, someone helping you organize your thoughts, someone telling you that your situation deserves attention, someone helping you find professional support, someone simply saying, let's take this one step at a time. There is no small form of genuine kindness. A few words can stay with someone for years, a hand on the shoulder, a message sent at the right moment, a person who says, I'm here. You may never know how much those things matter, and perhaps you've already been that person for someone else. Maybe you have helped people through difficult moments. Maybe you've stayed up late listening to someone's problems. Maybe you've told someone they would get through it. Maybe you've reminded someone that they are stronger than they think. And now, life is asking you to believe the same thing about yourself. You deserve the same compassion you give to others. You deserve the same patience, the same understanding, the same permission to have a difficult day. You are not required to be everyone's shelter while standing in the rain yourself. You can put the weight down sometimes. You can say, I can't carry this right now. You can let someone else help you hold it. There is something deeply human about that. We need each other, not every day, not every hour, but sometimes. And those sometimes matter. Maybe you are afraid that asking for help will change how people see you. Maybe you think they'll think less of you. But the right people won't measure your worth by the difficulty you're experiencing. The right people will understand that struggle is part of being alive. They won't ask why you couldn't handle everything perfectly. They will ask what they can do now. And if someone responds poorly, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have asked. It means they weren't the right person to carry that conversation with you. Keep looking. There are people who care. There are people who listen. There are people who understand. There are professionals whose entire purpose is to help people through difficult situations. There are communities. There are trusted friends. There are family members. There are people you haven't met yet who may become important parts of your story. Don't let one disappointing response convince you that nobody cares. One closed door does not mean there are no doors. One person who doesn't understand does not represent everyone. One difficult chapter does not predict every chapter that comes after it. You are allowed to keep searching for support, and maybe you have been telling yourself that you should already have figured everything out by now. Maybe you look at other people and think they have life under control. Be careful with that comparison. You are seeing their outside, you are living your inside, You don't know what they are carrying. You don't know how many times they have asked for help. You don't know who has helped them along the way. You don't know what they are afraid of. So don't use someone else's appearance of certainty as evidence that you are failing. Life isn't a competition to see who can suffer the most quietly. It is not a test of who can pretend the longest. There is no trophy for carrying pain without speaking about it. There is no special reward for refusing every helping hand. Sometimes the smartest person in the room is the one who knows when to say, I don't know. Sometimes the strongest person is the one who says, I can't do this alone. Sometimes courage sounds almost ordinary. I need you. Can you stay? Can we talk? Can you help me figure this out? Those words don't sound heroic, but they can change the direction of a life, because asking for help creates movement. It takes you from silence into conversation, from isolation into connection, from confusion toward clarity, from helplessness toward possibility, and possibility matters. Even when you can't see the solution yet, you don't need certainty to take a step. You need willingness. Willingness to admit that something isn't working, willingness to listen, willingness to accept support, willingness to try another way. Maybe the next step will be uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Maybe you will have to admit something you wish weren't true. Be honest anyway. Maybe you will need to ask someone you never thought you would ask. Ask anyway, because protecting your pride can sometimes cost you more than admitting you need help. Pride can keep you isolated, fear can keep you silent, shame can keep you stuck, but honesty can open a door. And once that door opens, you may discover that your situation is difficult but not impossible. There is a difference between those two words, difficult and impossible. When you're exhausted, your mind can confuse them. It can tell you that because you don't see a way out, there isn't one, but not seeing the way is not the same as there being no way. Sometimes you need another perspective. Sometimes you need time. Sometimes you need support. Sometimes you need professional guidance. Sometimes you simply need to rest long enough for your mind to stop shouting. You don't have to decide everything while you're overwhelmed. Give yourself permission to slow down, take the next reasonable step, then reassess. You can change direction, you can learn, you can ask questions, you can make mistakes, you can begin again. None of those things make you weak, they make you alive. And if you have been carrying something for a long time, please understand that you don't have to prove how strong you are by carrying it for another year. You have already carried it. Maybe long enough. Maybe the next act of strength is putting it down. Maybe the next act of courage is telling someone what you've been hiding. Maybe the next chapter begins with a simple conversation, a quiet room, a phone call, a message, a person listening, and you finally saying the words you've been afraid to say. I really need your help. And maybe your voice shakes when you say it. Let it shake. Maybe your eyes fill with tears. Let them. Maybe you don't know what happens after that. You don't have to. You only have to be honest about where you are. Because you don't have to carry every struggle alone. Not today, not every day, not forever. There will be moments when you will stand by yourself, and there will be moments when someone stands beside you. Both can be strength. There is courage in walking alone, but there is also courage in allowing someone to walk with you. And perhaps right now, what you need isn't another reason to keep everything inside. Perhaps what you need is permission to reach out, to stop pretending to let someone know, to give another human being the opportunity to say, I'm here. And sometimes just knowing that someone is there can give you enough strength to take the next step.